Rev up your engines!
Well, GM is shutting down another one of their truck plants. In this case, it's in Mexico, and they claim it has to do with some kind of parts shortage. They're not saying what. Well, guess what? They even admitted they shut one down in the United States for a couple weeks because, they don't want to have too many trucks unsold, right? Basically, here's what it's coming down to is they want to rip everybody off. If they make it look like there's a shortage of their trucks, guess what? They mark the prices up of the trucks. The prices of new trucks are going up. What you actually pay is going up. It doesn't matter what they say the suggested list price is. I've seen vehicles that the suggested list price was like $31,000, right? And then you look at what was the actual average price of that model sold? What was the average price that people paid when they actually bought them? Some of these $31,000 ones, the average price that actually sold for was $61,000. So they just want to keep the price up and, we got a shortage here. We're not making too many trucks. They're just trying to make an artificial shortage so they can say, well, there's only a couple of trucks on the lot. You don't want to buy them. Joe behind you is going to buy them. So, and here's the price. It's $10,000 over list. And if you don't like it, well, there aren't too many trucks anyways. We'll sell them all. It's a gambit these guys are obviously pulling. Any fool can see it. Even here in Clarksville, I drive around and see these dealerships. A lot of them are relatively empty for the new cars, right? It makes it look like there's a shortage, right? And then here they are, shutting a factory down in Mexico for a week that builds trucks. And they're just saying, well, we're not telling you. It's a parts shortage, generic BS, right? I wouldn't trust those people as far as you can throw them. They're just trying to think of any way to charge you more money for something. So, like I've been saying for years, if you don't have to buy a new vehicle, don't buy one. They can try to sell them for as much as they can, but if people stop buying them, guess what? Then they can't sell them for as much as they can because they won't be able to give them away if everybody stops buying the stupid things. Or go to a company that has them in stock and doesn't say, well, you're going to wait 6 months unless you want to buy this one right here and it's 10 grand over MSRP. Don't let them pull this stuff on you. Alex Forrest says, why in my Honda Jazz 2002 when I turn the air conditioner on, the car won't go? Generally, that means your air conditioning compressor is old and worn out. And when you turn the air conditioner on, then electricity goes to the magnetic clutch on the air conditioner, pulls it in, and then it starts spinning the inside of the compressor to compress the refrigerant. If your compressor is all worn out or really starting to completely wear out, that will strain the engine so much it'll stall the engine out. That's the main reason your compressor's probably going out. But sometimes, if you have a really weak alternator, the car will run okay, but when you turn the AC on, that extra electrical drain on the system will be enough that it'll knock the car out because it's using too much power. The alternator can't put enough power out to run the AC and the ignition system and the fuel system, so the car just stalls out because it doesn't get enough fuel to spark. Could be that too. Easy to check that. Just have your battery and alternator load tested. More often though, it's bad air conditioning compressor. Laura Light says, got an 03 4Runner, 265,000 miles. I replaced the shocks and struts. It makes a rattle clanging noise at low speeds and pavements. What could I look at? Well, it's got 265,000 miles. There are so many things that can rattle. Now, you'd want to jack it up. I've got a video, how to check out your own car's suspension system, Scotty. Watch it on YouTube. That'll give you a bunch of tips. But you could have a worn lower ball joint, you could have a bad tie rod, even the control arms in the front, the bushings could be worn, and that's going to make it a rattle. There's lots of things that can rattle. Now, to pinpoint the sound, it's actually quite easy. I got a video, Finding the Source of Car Noises, Scotty, and you'll see. You can get listening devices, and they make, that video has one that's like $160 listening device. I use an even cheaper one now that I got on Amazon. It was like $80, and it's all electronic with wires. Comes with 8 sensors. You put the sensors all over the car, then you put the headphones on, and on the control unit, you got clicks from 1 to 8. You keep clicking until the noise is the loudest, then you know it's where that sensor is, and then you can even take them all off, put a bunch of sensors there to exactly pinpoint where the noise is coming from. If you can't see physical wear, then you do that. Like if the ball joint's worn, you jack it up, pull on the wheel, it'll go clunka, clunka. You know it's worn, you need a ball joint. But a lot of times, it won't have play, it'll just make noise. You'd need a noise listening device for that. Shadow Kid Gaming says, Scotty, we got a 2019 Dodge Journey, 37,000 miles. Our manual says change the fluid at 120, but 60 if you use it for things like towing delivery. What do you think? It's a Dodge. I change it every 40,000 miles. regardless. They're poorly made. They don't last all that long. Don't gamble. I would change it every 40,000 miles. I'll change it now. You got 37, and I'd keep changing it every 40. Their warranty will be long gone at, 120,000 miles. They say, well, change your fluid at 120,000 miles. The warranty is gone long before that, so they don't care if it breaks. They'd rather have it break, and then you either pay them a fortune to rebuild the tranny or sell you another car. I'd change it every 40 if I were you. It's not that hard to do, and it's going to stop problems. They don't want their cars to last that long. The Stunt Gamer says, Scotty, what do you think of an F-150 with rust on the frame? I'm looking at an '08 for $3,000. That's 170,000 miles. Do you think I could get 30,000 miles out of it when towing? All right, here's the thing. Depends what kind of rust it has. There's superficial rust, and then there's serious rust. So what you do is you get a ball-peen hammer, right? And you go under there. And you whack the rust parts. And if it goes crunch and it goes right through the metal, don't even think about buying it. The frame's going to break at some point in time, sooner than later, and it's not worth anything. But if you hit it, it's still pretty solid, and it's just more or less superficial, it can last a long time. But get a ball-peen hanger. Hit it with the ball-peen part, because that's a little rounded part, and it's got more pressure. And you hit it, and it goes crunch, it goes through, don't even think about buying it. A truck with a rusted frame is worth nothing. Joey says, Scotty, do you think we've reached the pinnacle of internal combustion engines? Well, they're always coming up with new crazy ideas to make it last a little bit longer and make it a little bit more efficient. So in terms of technology, I don't think we are. But in terms of reliability over time, we've already passed it. You get Toyota Corolla engines from like 10, 15 years ago, they'll probably outlast any of the new stuff they're putting out because they have so much extra technology, variable valve timing, where the valves and the cams move instead of being just one setup. They move around, much more complex, things that are going to break. Turbochargers that ram extra pressure, they're going to break. They're going to make the engines break. I don't think they're going to last as long as they used to. That their pinnacle for that was a long time ago. But pinnacle in terms of the actual technology, now they can always keep inventing new technology to it. It's just, will it last over time or not? Only time will tell that. Kimberly Calhoun says, my daughter has an '06 Hyundai Elantra with 360,000 miles on it. It's still killing it. Okay, well, your daughter must take care of your vehicles. And I'm telling you one thing, I know for a fact it's got to be true. She does all highway driving mainly. Because I had a customer in Houston that had one, and they had 290,000 miles on it, but they were a regional sales director in the Southwest for a big grocery chain. So they drove all over the place. It was nothing for them to drive 400 or 500 miles a day. And on the highway, that's equivalent to 10% city driving. So 360,000 miles of highway driving is equivalent to like 36,000 miles of stop and go driving. Yes, that way cars can go a lot longer. I even seen American cars that aren't that well made, but they get that kind of mileage on it because they do it in 3 or 4 years all on the highway. And there's no wear and tear on the highway. You're just going at a lower RPM at one speed. It's not shifting. The wind's blowing, keeping everything cool. The tranny doesn't have to shift gears. The brakes aren't even being used. So, of course, they're going to last longer. SDLR says, Scotty, my 2019 Acura MDX does that idle stop. Shuts the engine off the stop sign. Does it damage anything? Oh, yes, it does in the long run. That's why I want to strangle these engineers that design that stuff. They want to make better gas mileage for the cafe gas ratings in the United States. So, of course, you shut the car off, it's going to get better gas mileage, right, instead of sitting there idling. 90-something% of the wear of your engine occurs upon startup. Do you really want to start and stop your car hundreds of times a day? It will wear your engine out faster. The manufacturers don't care. It takes a really long time for it to do the extra wear, so the car will be out of warranty. Eventually, the piston rings wear and they start burning oil. That's why, a lot of people get these Chevys, the other cars, and they'll go to the dealer and they'll say, hey, I got 60,000 miles. It burns a quart of oil now every 1,000 miles. And they'll say, oh, that's normal. They all do that. And they're not going to give you another engine. They don't care. Daniel Bitnut says, what do you think of John Deere tractors? Well, I got a little bitty John Deere tractor in Rhode Island. Push snow with it and stuff. Do the yard and pull stuff with it, My neighbors all there got John Deeres. And one's got one that's 34 years old. It still doesn't burn oil. And it's ticking along. But, they still seem to hold up. The one I've got's only 2 years old. I haven't had a lick of problem with it yet. Mr. Kapoor says, would you recommend a Volvo V60. Why or why not? Well, I'm not a fan of Volvos. They're European. They cost a fortune to get parts for. Volvo is now owned by the Chinese. And they said that they're only going to make electric and hybrid cars in the future. Let's say you buy a gasoline car like Volvo V60. What if they don't make parts for it in a few years? Because they decide, we're not even going to support those things. Then you're stuck with a car you paid a whole bunch of money for. And they can be a lot of fun to drive. But to me, they're overpriced. And for what you get more bang for your buck buying a Toyota or Honda than a Volvo. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.